All right, let's talk about something every single web developer has to deal with: grabbing data from a server and getting it into your React app. We're going to look at a super popular tool that makes this whole process way cleaner, simpler, and just better. Okay, let's get into it. So you've built this awesome React app, but right now it's just sitting there, right? Kind of lifeless. To make it dynamic, you need to pull in data from an API. But what's the most straightforward, least painful way to make that happen?
Before we jump into the solution, let's first really understand the problem. Let's look at the common headache developers run into when they're trying to fetch data.
You know, JavaScript has a tool for this built right in. It's called the Fetch API, and it's powerful, for sure. People use it all the time. But it has this little quirk. Every single time you use it to get JSON data, you have to add an extra step to your code just to unpack the response. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about right here. On the left, with fetch, it's a two-step dance. You fetch it, then you have to call .json on the response to get your data. But look at the right side with Axios. It's just a straight line. The data you want is right there inside response.data, already parsed for you. It's a small difference on paper, but it makes your code so much cleaner. So if fetch has that clunky extra step, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to a little library that a ton of developers absolutely swear by: Axios. So what is Axios, really? Put simply, it's a specialized tool built to do one job and do it incredibly well: making HTTP requests. It works both in your browser and on a server with Node.js, and its whole reason for existing is to make your life easier. So why do so many devs reach for Axios? Well, it really boils down to these key things. The syntax is just way cleaner and more intuitive. It automatically handles that JSON conversion we just talked about, no extra step. The error handling is just plain better, right out of the box. And the methods you call, like .get or .post, they make perfect sense. And this point about errors, it's a huge deal. With the normal Fetch API, if you get an error back from the server, like a 404 not found, Fetch doesn't actually see that as an error you need to catch. It still succeeds, which is weird. You have to write extra code to check for it. Axios, on the other hand, automatically knows that's a problem and will trigger your error handling code. It just works the way you'd expect it to. Okay, enough theory. Let's see how this actually looks when you're writing code. We're going to walk through how Axios handles the 4 big operations you do with data. And those operations are often called CRUD. If you haven't heard the term, it's just an acronym for the 4 basic things you'll ever want to do with data. You create it, you read it, you update it, and you delete it. Pretty simple, right? Let's start with reading data, just getting stuff from a server. With Axios, it's as clean as it gets. API.get, and you tell it where to go. All your data will be neatly tucked away inside response data. That's it, so readable. Next up, creating new data. Say you're adding a new blog post. For that, we use the post method. With Axios, you just call api.post, tell it the endpoint, and then pass in the new data you want to send. Axios takes care of all the behind-the-scenes stuff for you. What about changing something that's already there? That's an update, and we use put. This looks a lot like our last example, but notice that little /1 in the URL? That's how we tell the server which post we want to change. We're updating post number 1 with our new data. And finally, deleting. This one's the simplest of all. You just call api.delete and point it to the exact thing you want to get rid of. Boom, gone. And this table here just wraps it all up perfectly. Every core data operation, read, create, update, delete, it maps directly to an HTTP method you already know and a totally intuitive Axios command. It's this one-to-one clarity that makes Axios code so easy to read and understand. So, after seeing it in action, let's bring it all home and summarize exactly why you might want to reach for Axios on your next React project. When you boil it down, Axios really wins on 4 fronts. Simplicity, you just write less boilerplate code. Clarity, the code you do write is self-explanatory. Efficiency, it saves you time and headaches by handling the boring stuff for you, like JSON parsing and error checking. And power, it's more than capable of handling every basic data operation you'll ever need. And that kind of brings us to a bigger idea, doesn't it? Axios is an amazing tool, for sure, but it's also a perfect example of what we should look for in any tool we choose. We want things that cut down on complexity, that make our code easier to read, and that ultimately let us focus on what's important, building cool features, not wrestling with boilerplate. It's not always about the most powerful tool, but about the clearest and most efficient.